Okay, so the final question that I had was about British phrases, specifically British phrases that Americans wouldn't use or are not likely to use. And there's quite a few of these, as you can probably imagine. In Britain, we have um, we don't even really have such a thing as British English because there are so many different varieties of English that people speak all around the country. Um, the way that I speak English where I come from, it's not the same, for example, as a Scottish person speaks English or a Welsh person or someone from the south of England. We all have different pronunciations and different ways of speaking. And that's a good thing, you know, so it's a beautiful thing. Language is democratic, and I think it's nice that we can do this. But there are some phrases that are very typically used in British English. And the one that I want to start with is the phrase, all right. And we use this, this phrase is very typically used to mean hello or hi. When you first see someone for the first time, you know, you see a friend or someone meeting them in the street, it's very typical to say to them, all right. And this is a common, normal way to say hello or to say hi to a person, to greet them when you see someone who you know very well. Um, Another common phrase that we use, and this is a very nice expression, is the phrase fancy a cuppa. Fancy a cuppa, this is a very British expression for do you want or would you like a cup of tea? Now, as you know, I'm sure, tea is a very important part of our culture. The average British person drinks about 5 or 6 cups of tea every day. So for us, it's a very important part of our culture. And when we have a phrase, cup of tea, when we speak, of course, we don't say cup of tea. This sounds like, when we say it, it sounds like cup of tea, cup of tea. And so the phrase cup of tea then just became shortened to cuppa. And then cuppa is what people often use to just mean cup of tea. And fancy is a very British way of saying want. So if someone asks you in Britain, fancy a cuppa, they're asking if you would like a cup of tea. And remember as well, in our culture, a cup of tea is almost always chai s molokom. So if you drink your tea black or have a different type of tea, you will need to say it because it's. I know it's maybe strange for some Ukrainians that we have tea with milk, but for us it's very typical. It's very usual in our culture. Okay, a few more phrases that we can use. One that I wanted to highlight was the phrase "I'm pissed." Now, pissed is not a polite word, so I don't recommend using this in everyday conversation. But there are two different meanings of this word depending on which type of English you speak. Якщо ми розмовляємо в американській англійській, то I'm pissed, як зазвичай, це означає I'm angry. Але в британській англійській у нас це означає I'm drunk. Тобто я на бров'ях, можемо так сказати. So you will hear British people use the phrase I'm pissed to mean I'm angry because American English is spreading. It's very typical for these phrases to enter in other languages, but it's very common still in our language for I'm pissed to mean I'm drunk. And so this is a common British expression that we can also use. Another phrase as well that is commonly misused by all non-native speakers is the word subway. So the word subway, no, також в американській англійській, subway це означає метро. Тому що як у вас ну, у Києві київське метро, в американській англійській кажуть Kyiv subway. Так кажемо. Але у нас, тобто у британській англійській, слово subway це означає підземний перехід. Тому це зовсім інше. So if we say, for example, let's take the subway, this can be two completely different things, depending if you are an American speaker of English or if you are a British speaker of English. Fortunately, there are not many of these words where there are different meanings, but subway is a very, very typical one. So to me, as a British person, subway oznacza podzemny перехід, but to an American person, it will be, no, це буде як metro. And one more phrase, last phrase, is using the word bloody. Bloody is not a bad word, but it's also not very polite. And in British English, you can often use the word bloody to mean very. So, for example, we can say something like, that borscht was bloody delicious. And so it's like, it was really delicious, it was really nice, it was really good. This is a very British use. In American English, they don't normally use this word in this way, but that's a very common British phrase that we use. The person who asked this question also added in there, they gave two of their own examples of phrases that we use in British English. One of them was, I need to go to the loo. This is fine. This is very typical. Loo means, if you don't know, loo means the same as toilet. And this is a very British phrase. One thing I just want to say, however, is in British English and in American English, we do not say the phrase WC. Я дуже часто чую від українців таке слово where is the WC. І просто ми так не кажемо, це тільки in written English ми пишемо, але ми так не кажемо. Loo, toilet, restroom також в американській англійській можемо виживати, але WC ні, ми так не кажемо. And the other phrase that was given was, it's raining cats and dogs. Now, ця фраза, ну, ідіома, це існує в англійській, ну, в британській англійській, але це трохи старомодно, я сказав би. It's not something that you hear every day, or even very often, to be honest with you. I can't remember the last time I heard the phrase, it's raining cats and dogs, from a native speaker of English. There's a few alternatives that you can use. You can say, it's pissing it down. Це не дуже чемна фраза, не дуже вічлива, але ми можемо так сказати. You can say, it's bucketing it down. Теж підходить. And where I come from, in my part of the world, people say, it's stair rods. Це дуже ідіоматично. Я думаю, що може навіть діалект, я сказав би. Мені здається, що це не стандартна англійська мова. Але все одно ми так кажемо у нас. Але it's bucketing it down, це може бути найкращий варіант, бо це підходить, це не погане слово, тому я думаю, що це буде найкращий варіант.